self-defense or murder. The man on the right, who is about to be apprehended by the police, is Andrew Derr, a biker. The woman on the left is 35-year-old Sara Nicole-Morales. She's a librarian. She was pregnant. She has an 11-year-old daughter and a fiance, and she's dead at the hands of Andrew Kerr, this biker. But is Andrew Kerr a murderer, or is this a case of self-defense? It's more complicated than you think. We're going to go over the 911 calls. I'm going to show you the intense body cam footage. We'll go over everything here. But you can see from the police perspective, they're saying the pregnant librarian killed in this alleged road rage shooting was the aggressor. Now, there were two different scenes where this happened. One was where the accident occurred, or where she ran into him on his motorcycle and then fled the scene. The other was at her house, where they followed her to confront her about the hit and run. And this, from Channel 9 WFTV, shows her house and plays the 911 call. Listen closely to this.
Orange City police detectives were at this home on Wisconsin Avenue Monday morning talking to the family inside where 35-year-old Sara Morales was shot and killed. The family asked us to respect their privacy. But police say the county librarian hit 40-year-old Andrew Derr on his motorcycle by Wisconsin and North Volusia Avenue Saturday evening and took off. Officers say witnesses and Derr tried to get Morales to pull over and wait for police.
Is the motorcyclist down on the ground? Is he breathing and conscious?
He's fine.
Okay.
The lady just took off and left.
All right, so they said he's fine. The lady just took off and left. Now, she's probably going to suggest that I rolled a little bit of ways. I didn't think anybody was hurt. And then a bunch of guys were surrounding my vehicle. So I wanted to get the hell out of there. That would have been her argument, probably, if she were still alive. But she's not, because she went back to this place, her house.
They say the men followed Morales to this home to help officers identify her. Morales made her own call to 911 and says the men were being aggressive and threatening her and followed her home. Police say she grabbed a gun and confronts them.
You are three men. You followed me.
Listen.
What's that?
Police say Derr shoots Morales. Morales' mother gets on the line with dispatch and says her daughter is with child.
My daughter. Shot. My daughter's been shot. 1052 East Wisconsin in Orange City. Get her immediately. She's pregnant.
Morales
My God.
died at Halifax Hospital. She worked at the county's Pearson and Deland Library since January 2019.
All right, so the librarian is her end. She died at the hospital shortly after this. Now, I got some of the police reports, and we're going to play the body cam footage in just a moment. We start out here with just talking about the characters and everything you already know and that hit and run. Then we go to, in this report from the police, the details. Morales went into her house and reemerged a short time later. Morales confronted the witness and Derr as they were on the phone with 911. You see, just as she was on the phone with 911 saying, "You followed me home, what are you doing at my house?" They were on the phone with 911 saying, "This crazy woman left the scene of a hit and run." Derr, having a valid Florida concealed weapons permit, fired back at her when she pointed a handgun at the witnesses and him. He drew the concealed handgun and fired multiple rounds, striking Morales. You heard in that 911 call 5 or 6 shots rang out there. You heard her going up to them. The question is, did this happen in her front yard where all she does is level a weapon toward them? Or did it happen in the street? That seems to be the biggest deal. Derr remained on the scene and has been cooperating with law enforcement from the beginning. One more police report. They go into the hit and run, and then they say the driver of the blue Kia was identified as Sara Nicole-Morales, 35 years old. Morales was shot multiple times. Orange City Fire Rescue responded to provide medical care. Morales was transported to Halifax Hospital, where she succumbed to her injuries and was pronounced dead. Now, before we get to these locations, let's go to the body cam on the scene. This is when police showed up. You're going to see the biker lying face down on the ground after having shot the librarian.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Don't move! Do not move! Do not move!
You can hear him talking
Stay
back.
right where you are, okay? I'm not going to shoot you. Just keep listening to what I'm telling you, okay? What's your first name?
Andrew.
Okay.
Listen to him.
That girl tried to kill me. She pointed a gun at me.
All right, a couple of things we're noticing right now as the cops approach. He just said that girl tried to kill me. She pointed a gun at me. Here he is in the middle of the road. Here's his bike here on somebody's property or near somebody's property, and you see a mailbox right here. this is not necessarily where the shooting took place because we obviously don't see any bodies here. Is the body of the librarian further on her property? Did he encounter her on her property where she pulled a gun and he thought he could then shoot her in defense of himself? Is he a murderer or was this self-defense? Let me know in the comments. More of the body cam footage.
Hey, just relax.
It's a gun to the left.
Trying to
Okay?
kill me.
Relax. This officer's gonna come around.
I'm so sorry.
Relax.
Leave that.
I'm not
leave it where
moving.
it's at.
I'm not
Okay,
moving.
you're good.
Please. I'm not moving. I'm so sorry. She tried to kill me, and those other people are armed too. They had guns too.
The other people are armed too. Everybody had guns.
Easy, gentlemen. I have no criminal record. I didn't do anything. Didn't do anything.
All right,
wrong.
yeah, so we see the motorcycle is right here, sort of on the driveway area. I don't see a body around here anywhere. I don't see where the actual shooting took place, which would, to me, declare what is murder and what is self-defense. Here are the locations. First of all, this is where the hit and run took place, right here. Right here on this road was where this hit and run took place, and she continued on after it happened. And they were right about here when all of this occurred. She went from there to her home, which is back in this wooded area. And these houses seem to have quite a bit of property around them. You can see from here, there's lots of woods on the property. So it's a little hard to discern what is private property and what is public property in these areas. And it's a little unclear in some of the reports where this all took place. You see, this one from Fox 8 says, when Morales arrived at her home, the witnesses called 911 and asked officers to respond. According to the police department, Morales went inside her house and came out a short time later to confront Derr and the witnesses, came out of her house. Other stories suggest this. According to police, when Morales arrived at her house, she entered the residence to retrieve a gun, and a confrontation took place in the roadway, this suggests. That, to me, is everything. We know he was arrested in the roadway, or at least he was cuffed. He has not been charged with anything as of now, Andrew Derr, this biker. Here's the actual Florida state statutes, and I don't know if you can see this, but it says, a person is justified in using or threatening to use force except deadly force against another when and to the extent the person reasonably believes that such conduct is necessary to defend himself or herself or another against the other's imminent use of unlawful force. A person who uses or threatens to use force in accordance with this subsection does not have a duty to retreat. They do not have a duty to retreat before using or threatening to use such force. And the second part of this, a person is justified in using or threatening to use deadly force if he or she reasonably believes that using or threatening to use such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or herself or another, or to prevent the imminent commission of a forcible felony. A person who uses or threatens to use deadly force in accordance with this subsection does not have a duty to retreat, once again, and has the right to stand his or her ground. Stand your ground is what they call this. If the person threatening to use deadly force is not engaged in criminal activity and is in a place where he or she has the right to be. What were these places that these two were in? Who was in the right and who was in the wrong? Somebody was using self-defense, but who was it? Was the librarian using self-defense because the biker and friends had followed her to her house and were now approaching her? Was she the one who had every right to go out on her property with her weapon and approach them and even maybe point the gun in their direction? Or was it self-defense on the part of Andrew Derr, the biker, who saw this woman coming up to him, who had already fled the scene of a hit and run, and now was approaching him with a gun on her property? Self-defense, but for whom? The librarian or the biker? Who is in the right in this story? And should there be charges fired against the biker, Andrew Derr, for shooting and killing Sara Nicole-Morales? Let me know what you think in the comments. Share this video with your friends by hitting that share button. If you're new around here at facebook.com/thenewsjunkie, please hit follow for stories just like this every single day. At youtube.com/thenewsjunkie, hit subscribe. And I appreciate you watching this. I look forward to your comments. I'll hang out with you in the comments section as always. I should say, appreciate the people who are supporters on both Facebook and YouTube and help make videos like this happen. Thank you. Thank you all for watching, and we'll talk to you again real soon.